At the start of Part 4, Cellier receives Al's letter and goes public with it. It becomes proof to the world that the future can be changed. Lloyd sends an email to 4 of his associates, urging them to reveal the experiment and take responsibility for the global blackout. At the FBI field office, Janis is back at work but attempts to resign. After the shootout, she isn't sure what to make of her life, her having very less chance of being pregnant, and the flash suggesting she will be with a child is too confusing for her at the moment. Wedtsek refuses to accept her resignation, telling her she should not let a bullet determine whether she does or does want to have a child. At the hospital, Simon visits Lyad, who is entertaining his son Dylan. Simon is furious at Lyad for avoiding him and other colleagues following the blackout. Mark and Olivia are vacationing in a beach hotel. Mark gets Olivia a gift to mend things and work on their marriage. Before Olivia can open the gift, Demetri interrupts with a phone call. There was a homicide where a man was robbed of his briefcase he was carrying, and then shot dead by a man with a 3-star tattoo on his forearm. The video of the homicide is going viral. Mark immediately returns to work. We learn that the victim is Neil Perofsky from El Segundo. The video was shot by a woman named Ingrid Alvarez. After watching the video, Mark is determined to catch this guy and put him away to change his and hopefully Demetri's future. Olivia is also back at work. She opens the gift from Mark and it just happens to be a set of lingerie. It turns out it's the exact outfit that she's wearing in her flash when she's with Lyad. In the next scene, we finally see Tracy alive and hiding at her home. She repeatedly has nightmares of the bombing incident in Afghanistan. Tracy wants to lay low but doesn't explain the reason behind it to her father. Back at the hospital, Lyad demands that they go public about the global blackout, but Simon is not on board with this. Simon comments that the only way to decide is by a fine game of Texas Hold'em between the two of them. If Lloyd wins, they reveal the mass murder caused during the blackout, and if Simon wins, Lloyd stays mum. So, the pair go to a casino to play a poker game. At the FBI field office, the woman who shot the video, Ingrid, is brought in, where she discusses what she saw. She was working late when she saw 3 men in an alley in a heated argument. That is when she filmed the incident. They were arguing about a briefcase that the 2 men took from Perofsky, the victim. She goes on to explain that one guy had gray hair, while the other was bald and muscular. Ingrid also mentions that she heard the men talk about something called Q. Back at the poker game, Simon also brings up the word Q. Q is a Latin abbreviation for quod erat demonstrandum, meaning which is to be demonstrated. He continues his defense of why they shouldn't tell the public about the blackout. He tells Lloyd that they're scientists, not some reality contestants looking for 15 minutes of fame. Elsewhere, Tracy eventually starts revealing what actually happened. Her vehicle got attacked by Jericho PMCs, who are private military contractors. Jericho works for their military, so she can't trust them. She goes on to explain that a few weeks ago, she was on an assignment in a village in Afghanistan. There, she saw Jericho wipe out an entire village, killing women and slaughtering children. The attack on her vehicle happened when she reported the incident to her superior. Later, Mark meets with Aaron. Aaron shows pictures of Tracy on his cell phone to Mark to prove that his daughter is alive. He then tells him that Tracy is on the run and that she needs help with the whole Jericho business. Once back at his field office, Mark and the other agents decide to set a trap using Ingrid as bait to lure the suspected murderers of Perofsky. They learn that Perofsky was a chief engineer for some kind of electronics and was suspected of corporate espionage. Mark thinks they have a mole in the FBI, the same mole that let the masked men into FBI headquarters in Mark's flash. Meanwhile, Tracy is upset that her dad told Mark that she's alive. She's scared that if more people knew, Jericho will get to her. Aaron convinces her that she'll be fine, as she was alive in his flash forward. He further tells her that, in his flash, a man told him the account has been verified after Aaron handed him an envelope. When Aaron describes that the man had a scar on his face, Tracy realizes it's Kamir, a field medic, who saved her. Next, the FBI agents set up a stakeout in Ingrid's pet shop. While Janis and Ingrid are inside, Mark and Demetri wait in a car outside. Ingrid shares with Janis that in her flash, she was living in New York and working at the Bronx Zoo. Soon, the lights go out and Janis calls for help. As Demetri and Mark go inside, a gray-haired man with a 3-star tattoo is sighted. Not long after, Demetri shoots the man and kills him. Following the incident, Ingrid ends up having to go into witness protection because the other man who was involved in Perofsky's murder is still alive. The next scene takes us to the casino, where Lloyd finally wins the game, thanks to his magic tricks. Lyad then tells Simon that they are now telling the public about the blackout. Back on the job, Janis observes video footage of Suspect Zero that has been digitally enhanced. she and Wedtsek notice that he is wearing a ring. Next, at what appears to be a military base, a bald man with 3 stars tattooed on his arms hands Perovsky's briefcase to another 3-star tattoo man. The case is delivered to a bearded man in a private room. Inside the case, there are 6 rings engraved with a Greek alpha. The bearded man says that there were supposed to be 7 rings. He then casually shoots the delivery man dead. The series then goes into a flashback. 4 weeks before the blackout, Bryce had learned that he has stage 4 renal cell carcinoma. 2 weeks before the blackout, Keiko Arahita, the woman Bryce saw in his flash, had interviewed for a new position at Nakahara, a Japanese robotics firm. After he found out about his diagnosis, Bryce wasn't so much focused on his work. Olivia would often remind him to commit to his profession. Meanwhile, Keiko got the job but was not happy. When she went to her parents' house, she was greeted with a surprise celebration party. At the party, Keiko expressed her disappointment, but her mother didn't try to understand her. During his session with a psychologist, Dr. Flemings, Bryce flashes back to the day of the blackout, when he was about to fire his revolver. During his flash, Bryce saw Keiko and asked her if he could examine her tattoo. At present, Bryce is at home listening to a Japanese language lesson when he suddenly rushes to the bathroom and vomits. At the Benford home, Olivia's cell phone rings, and when Mark picks up the phone, he sees the text message that she received about his drinking during his flash. At the hospital, Olivia notices that something is wrong with Bryce physically. When she examines him, she finds a line inserted into Bryce's chest. Bryce admits to being a chemotherapy patient due to his stage 4 renal cell carcinoma. Olivia then realizes that Bryce attempted suicide because of his cancer. At the FBI field office, Mrs. Levy of the National Security Agency brings enhanced images from the security camera footage of Suspect Zero. Suspect Zero is wearing a ring that has an alpha symbol on it, similar to the ones that the bearded man from earlier had in the briefcase. Mrs. Levy adds that she is uncomfortable talking in the group about Suspect Zero because one of the agents has been red flagged by the NSA. He received a telephone call whose origin had been professionally concealed. By now, all of the agents realize that Levy is talking about Demetri. When Demetri realizes that there is a recording of the call with the NSA, he presses Levy to get a copy of it, hoping that he will get out of his potential murder. Meanwhile, in Tokyo, Keiko is treated badly at her workplace when her manager asks her to serve tea as she is the only woman working in the department. Frustrated, Keiko goes to a tattoo parlor to get a tattoo. At work, Bryce shows his drawing of the woman from his flash to a Japanese patient. She tells him the t-shirt the woman is wearing is from a restaurant called Sushi Arahita in Tokyo. Bryce then flies to Tokyo, hoping he will meet the woman from his flash. Once there, Bryce finds his way to Sushi Arahita, where he learns that the woman's name is Keiko. In the meantime, Keiko tells her mother that she wants to quit her job. The mother-daughter duo has a discussion for a while, when Keiko's mother suggests that Keiko moves out of the family home if she wishes to disrespect the family. Back at the FBI office, the agents receive a copy of the recording of the call where Demetri was forewarned about his murder. When the agents analyze the recording electronically, they learn that the background noise is coming from the symphony of lights in Hong Kong harbor. Without wasting their time, Mark and Demetri try to get permission to go to Hong Kong, but Wedtsek refuses. Mark decides they are going anyway. After getting Keiko's address from the Sushi Arahita restaurant, Bryce goes to Keiko's family home, where the door is answered by Keiko's younger sister. Keiko's mother also arrives at the door and Bryce asks her if his drawing is of her daughter. The mother responds that she does not know the woman in the drawing, and threatens to call the police on Bryce. Hopeless, Bryce flies back to Los Angeles, not realizing that Keiko is also traveling on the same plane. In the next scene, we get to see Anhadra Udaya, the woman who contacted Demetri about his murder. At her office, Anhadra ponders over her version of the Mosaic investigation. Meanwhile, Mark and Demetri violate Wedtsek's orders and fly to Hong Kong to find Anhadra. Upon landing, they meet an FBI agent named Marshall Vogel, who advises Mark and Demetri to return to Los Angeles while they still have jobs. In the following scene, Lloyd and his associates hold a press conference to tell the audience about the events of October 6, 2009, the day when the blackout happened. Lloyd discloses that they were experimenting with the production of energy levels that existed just after the Big Bang, and they conducted such an experiment, which he believes caused the blackout. Chaos erupts among the crowd after learning that these scientists were behind the blackout. An outraged woman grabs a security officer's revolver and tries to shoot Lloyd. Thankfully, the guards subdue her. The conference was broadcasted all over the television. At her office, when Janis hears the name Simcoe, she realizes Olivia had treated a patient named Dylan Simcoe. Wedtsek wants her to go to the hospital, check on Dylan, and wait for Lyad to return. Elsewhere, Zoe leaves a message on Demetri's parents' telephone, begging them to attend her and Demetri's wedding. As she finishes the message, Paul, a colleague, asks if she will be attending the memorial for their friend Joyce that evening. Zoe replies that Joyce was friendly to her, and she would attend the memorial. Next, Janis arrives at the hospital and waits for Lyad to return. Bryce, who is working the shift, asks how she is doing following the gunshots. She answers that she is doing well but not well enough to have a baby. Janis then explains what she saw in her flash, that she was having a prenatal sonogram. Bryce advises her that if she still wants to have a baby, then she shouldn't give up. In his office, Wedtsek watches a live program where the hosts are discussing Lloyd and Simon's press conference. Just then, Simon sneaks into the office to tell Wedtsek that he does not believe his group caused the blackout. Simon points out that if people knew about the cause of the blackout, the Mosaic investigation funding will evaporate. Wedtsek then offers to meet again the following morning. Meanwhile, Janis spots Lloyd at the hospital. She approaches him, but Lloyd is in no mood to talk with her. In Hong Kong, Mark and Demetri manage to identify the restaurant where Anhadra routinely has a late dinner. The following morning, Janis shows images to Simon of the Ganwar region. Simon quickly recognizes the image and tells her that he designed the tower. He shares that the tower is a specialized pulsed laser for a plasma afterburner. Simon is taken aback when Janis tells him that the picture was taken in 1991, a decade before he thought of the idea. Simon is shocked that anyone else could have come up with his idea. Wedtsek then shows Simon a drawing of D. Gibbons. He explains that Gibbons has been hacking into high-tech facilities and plays chess. Simon denies knowing Gibbons, but agrees to help the FBI find the fugitive because he wants revenge. Later that evening, Zoe attends the memorial. When she notices a white rose, she relives her flash in which she drops a white rose on the floor. She then realizes that it wasn't her wedding that she saw in her flash, but it was Demetri's memorial service. In the next scene, Olivia suggests Travers, a private children's hospital, for Lloyd to transfer Dylan. While Lyad thanks Olivia, she admires his bravery in coming forward about the blackout and taking responsibility. Back in Hong Kong, Mark and Demetri confront Anhadra at a restaurant. She is guarded by 4 armed men. She reluctantly reveals that Mark will be the one to murder Demetri in March using his service weapon, with the serial number A561984. The situation flies out of control when Mark attacks Anharda's men and takes her into custody as a material witness. Just then, Marshal Vogel and the Hong Kong police show up and defuse the situation. Mark and Demetri are then forcefully arrested. In the meantime, Zoe visits Demetri's parents' home. Demetri's mother, Mrs. No, admits that she was attending her son's memorial service in her flash, which matches Zoe's. Zoe tearfully tells Mrs. No that they are going to change the future, which is possibly attempting to undo Demetri's death. The following day, Janis returns to the hospital to visit Bryce and asks him for advice on proceeding with her pregnancy. Janis reveals to him that since she is gay, she needs to get pregnant without involvement with a man. Bryce then recommends a Qubit fertility clinic and a doctor named Jane Parker. Later that evening, Olivia waves goodbye to Lloyd and his son Dylan as they are being transferred to another hospital. One of the ambulance operators, John, introduces himself and his partner, Reed. While being transferred to an ambulance, Dylan becomes agitated. Olivia points out that he is autistic. When Dylan becomes agitated a second time, the situation spirals out of control, and Reed draws a weapon and shoots the nearby guard. He then threatens Olivia and forces Lloyd into their vehicle and drives away. Dylan screams at his father being taken away while Olivia watches in horror. Subscribe to see more videos like this, turn on the notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Don't forget to watch the next upcoming series. Thanks for watching.